the 5D mystic, the ones who are in their functional adulthood, emotionally speaking. So they create the relationship with those basic 6 human emotions that we have. They're also potentially in that lovely enlightenment soul age group. So those individuals with a perspective that moves beyond the supernatural. We integrate the lovely human elements, the sciences, all of them, all the subject matters, plus spiritual, metaphysics, esotericism, all that in the in-between, and the spirituality. For me, I get to learn about spirituality from said guru, but what is most important, as we discuss always, mindful relationships and being those Zen masters, because the 5D collective are people who have that integration of the brain. That's why handling our own thoughts and our own emotions, it's like what we do. So while we meet people who have human suffering, they talk about pain and frustration, and they use that energy, we are different. We don't use the energy because we learn how to work the mental, energetic, which is the emotional and physical body all together. With clairs, that doesn't change. In fact, the difference in a 5D person's experience, it's that it's an energetic imprint between Akashic record readings, tarot cards, and it's amazing to be able to be a tarot card reader as well as an Akashic record reader to share that guidance, as well as in the lovely holistic practices, Reiki, energy work. But there's a difference in talking about it, and even in trying to explain to people, it's not a belief system. And that's to the 4D collective. The individuals who don't believe in it at all, I've met people, but I don't believe in Reiki. It's like, it's okay, I get it. Woo-woo lady gets it, because woo-woo lady is a scientific methodology person. I love empowering educators. And so when I get to relate to other 5D mystics, it's awesome, as well as functional adults. Those would be people who are open and understanding. They don't embody the experience of clairs, so they're not going to look at me like I'm a woo-woo lady. They're going to respectfully engage with me. Furthermore, they also have neuroscience, physicists, and a lot more in their background of knowledge. So they know it's not woo-woo. They know that there's a sphere of energy. It's called consciousness, and they're also not all caught up in conspiracies or whatnot, telling each other who's hiding what. No, we know how the research methodology works. So today, one of my favorite cards is this one. If you look at it, it reminds you of, for me, Krishna Lila, because he explores the depths of the profound with the curiousness and joyfulness and playfulness. And on that note, that's what we get to do when we go through thinking and feeling, because we're using our ventral vagal nervous system. So here, let me bring in Stephen Porges, because he is awesome. And he's the one who shares with us. I mean, I took some courses, so with me, but I share with you about how yoga is a great portfolio of ventral vagal nervous system exercises. Yoga also allows you to work with your cortex, because that mindful stuff, when you're pausing, and Tara Brach is one that talks about mindful relationships and mindfulness, and how the water of the ocean, when the limbic system, and so why people will be in the depths of those emotional moments without actually contemplating. So when you're sitting in silence, you get to start learning how to harness your cortex. And that third eye, by the way, is the prefrontal cortex. So 5D, again, mystic, will be working with their intrapersonal intelligence, because they know clairs have everything to do, first of all, with their own expansion of energy. Body is connected to your emotional body, because your nervous system is actually what is working. So if you're not in a ventral vagal state, you won't be relaxed and at ease. And that is where there is not a restorative embodied self for those who do not navigate their ventral vagal state. There's a modulated embodied self, which is in a fight flight, and that's the sympathetic. And sometimes there's shutdown too, which is dorsal vagal, and that is like no battery. The minute that I've been around anyone who has like no charge, I'm like, wow, are they even here? And the thing is, they are. So this is where I would say that can be dissociation, but with an element of a nervous system that will have learned to switch on and off, which is something that happens to those who have childhood trauma. So they don't know about it. And even if you try to present, if you're having an actual conversation, they're not really curious about their nervous system in a way of saying, wow, I'm intelligent and can wander. No, the idiots who are dead sure, thank you, Sadhguru, for the quote. It's, no, this is how I work. This is how my body works. our embodied brain, it's a brain with a nervous system. So thankfully we have good psychoeducators offering free content on YouTube and educating. And this one is on Nutshell, for example. I found this updated autonomic nervous system with Dr. Stephen Porges, polyvagal theory. So when you are in your parasympathetic nervous system with the ventral vagal pathway on, which is what a restorative embodied self person who is a 5D and or learns to be in this spectrum oneness consciousness, means that you use left and right integration of the brain. So all hands are on deck, left and right mode. This is why the none is shutting off the other. And you're also a conduit like that, and your default mode network is down regulated because you're like, there's no weapon, I don't need to scan anymore. I scanned, it's a person in front of me. And the nervous system doesn't matter if they're in survival or shut down, whatever they're in, we're knowing how to self-regulate on our own. So that's the independent self of a person whose integration of the brain, restored embodied self, and again, handling thoughts and emotions with the inner growth mindset, very straightforward. So when you're in your ventral vagal pathway, the normal heart rate and muscle tone is what is characterized. Then we have emotions such as relaxed, engaged, curious, creative, and hopeful. And the other graph that they have, though, actually gives you also what's happening inside the body. So I don't have that one. But on that note, what I also want us to remember is that when stress increases, old traumas and wounds are aggravated, and with that comes deep feelings of loneliness and isolation. And people who don't know about how hurt people can do the work, and that would be where when 4D talks about karmics, energy vampires, dark auras, and they really don't bring people together when people talk about narcissists and they don't understand that that's an actual personality. I think disorder is the word that is used, but hopefully they're going to change that to something different, because it's a person who can go on a journey and work with their own self. They're not a demon. Patrick McNamara has shown there's no demon in the brain of a person. He's a neuroscience, I think theoretical neuroscientist. He studies the religious self in the brain. There's a book out. And he actually, in one of his interviews, says when we've looked at all the moments where shamans or people who have gone through nightmare after nightmare after nightmare, and they don't make it to become the shaman, or basically don't make it through their tests and trials, and they're possessed, it's not possession. There's a fear receptor in the brain and it breaks. So hurt people who hurt people, instead of following movies like Mean Girl or Hangover and doing a land that is drama, not mindful relationships. And so getting curious about oneself means not using, I might be evil, or maybe I'm a demon, or maybe because there are people who actually justify their quote-unquote assholishness that way, which they're just hiding that shame defectiveness cycle, and it's a heartbreak gut-wrench. It's that painful. They're not doing it aware. They're not aware, and the people who call them karmics or energy vampires don't have an awareness of this either. Otherwise, they wouldn't say those words. A person who has had childhood trauma, the feelings are not lost, but they are disconnected. The person will have a disconnection from their emotional body and the 6 basic emotions, so they will not notice things in the same way, but they will notice that it's different. And that's the unfortunate part, because then whoever's surrounding them might not educate them to know it's okay, you're not defective. It's called trauma. We can get somebody to support us if you need anybody to support us. Tara Brach. The power of mindfulness to radically change relationships. It is when we pause that we have the opportunity to transform. That's because when you pause in your limbic system, your brain from alert, alert, alert. Terry Real also talks about this. He talks about how trauma is relational and intimacy is the core. So when you find people that you can be safe with, when you have triggers, as Patrick Tiahan points out, triggers are physical. We can't just think through them. So when you have a compassionate 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, functional adults, when our loved ones, that's why our oversoul expands. Twin flames, soulmates, we don't say cancel. That's for people who don't understand what it means to be a human. And they don't know that we don't have devils or demons. We have people. And they have feelings, and they have a body like you do. So when we meet people who have triggers, we don't treat them like shit. We don't shame, blame, fault, or revenge. Like the Zen master, we say, can we talk? How can we help? What do we want to do? We get curious. And if they get nasty, we don't get nasty back. We keep on trying to get each other to connect. And if that doesn't work, we leave them alone. That's all. So growing love is very straightforward. It's easy and it's always expansive. Infinite higher human consciousness potential. Tune in for more. Have a great day.